Hi, in this video we're going to explore a concept called inheritance, and the exercise we'll do is called superhero battle. So Java inheritance is the idea of having a generic class that has children. So in a previous video I briefly showed you an example of inheritance with a person as the generic class and teachers and students as subclasses. So this is what we're going to copy, except we'll use superheroes. So I'm going to guide you through the steps here and explain how things work as we code along with this assignment in activity guide number 2. Okay, so I find myself in Eclipse again. Let's break a new project open, and I think I'm going to call this one assignment 4. And let's go ahead and get started. Now with assignment 4 we're going to need to have two classes. We're going to have a class that will be the main program, and that's where all the action will take place. Main program will have the main void function in it, and then also inside of here we're going to have a new class, and we're going to call it superhero, and click finish. Alright, so superhero is going to be kind of the generic definition of what a superhero should have. So we're going to give him some properties, like we're going to give him a name, which is a string. We're also going to give him health points, and we'll also give him a boolean for a status if he is dead or not. So now I'm going to use the automatic code generation of Eclipse to create getters and setters, as well as our constructors. So let's click OK for that. You can see we have get and set for all three of these variables. And I'm also going to create a constructor using the fields. Now I'm going to uncheck the isDead. I only want to have a constructor with name and health in it. Now in this program we're going to have an epic battle between two superheroes. And so I'm going to create some methods that will allow them to attack each other. So let's make an action called attack. And the variable that we're going to put inside of this function here is going to be a type of superhero. And it will accept an opponent, and then we're going to take some health points away from him. So I'm going to do two things inside of this function. First of all, I'm going to generate a random number between 1 and 10. Well, this will represent the amount of damage done to the opponent. And then I will actually subtract the health points from the opponent's health score. So in Java, there's an object called random, which is actually a random number generator. And I'll import that, and this will allow me to create new numbers. So this function here will allow me to take the random number generator object and collect the next integer that it thinks of. So it's just, imagine it's like a magic 8-ball, and it just spits out numbers randomly. And the number inside the parentheses tells me about the upper limit on what it will generate. But first of all, I want to get another function put together so that it will actually subtract that amount. So this new function I'm going to create is called determine health, and it will accept an integer value of the amount of damage given to it from another opponent. So the calculation is take the amount of damage that is given to the opponent and take it away from his health. If the number of points is below 0 on his health score, then set his health to 0 and then make him dead. So I'm going to say set dead is to true. If he is not dead, then we will simply set the health. We will take his current health and subtract the damage, and then reset the health number with those new sums. So now we have a way for the superhero to take a hit. So when we attack a superhero, we should also set that as an opponent's hit score. And once the damage is taken, we're going to print a message that says his number of damage points has been given, and his current health is now another number, and we'll print out the status for both of those. Alright, so now I've got the generic superhero class created. Now I want to create a version of the superhero called Batman, another version called Superman, and we'll have them fight to the death. So let's go create a new class. Right click on the package, choose New Class, and I'm going to choose Batman. And let's see, I'm going to leave everything checked as you see it on the screen here and finish. So the class Batman, an empty class. I'm going to type a new keyword, extends, and superhero is the name of the class that I'm going to extend. Now what that means is that Batman now has the elements of the superhero. He can do things like attack and receive a hit. Also, it says you need to add a constructor called Batman string int. And what that means is that the constructor, as you can see, is calling a super constructor. So when you create a Batman, it says I'm first of all going to create a version of him in the superhero form and then create another version of him in the Batman form. So let's create this superhero. So we're going to create a superhero and put in his name here as Batman. And then his health will be passed on. I'm going to do the same thing with Superman. I'm going to create a new class, and let's call it Superman, and choose Finish. And we're going to do the same keyword, extends superhero. Now I hover over the word Superman because it has underlined red letters. I'm going to add the constructor as it wants me to. And for the name, I'm going to pass it as Superman. Okay, I'm going to go back and change one of the constructors for Batman and Superman. So inside of Batman, the constructor, I'm going to take away his name, since we've already decided that his name is always going to be sent by this string here, Batman. So our constructor for Batman will only need one variable. The same thing goes for Superman. I'm going to remove the first parameter for string and his name and just send it health to Superman. So now let's go to the main program. We're going to create instances of Batman and Superman and make them fight each other. So we're going to use some random numbers to set their health. So let's do another random case. So I'm going to create an instance of the random object, which I'm going to call random number generator, and then I'm going to use it to create a random number between 1 and 100 for health 1, and then do the same thing for health 2. Alright, the next step then is we're going to create Superman and Batman instances. So now when we create a new instance of these superheroes, we're only going to have to provide one variable. So let's say Superman, and let's call it Superman, is a new Superman. And let's see what it suggests for our parameters. So let's hover over here and it says add the argument. So it says add an integer. So, and it guessed that we're going to use health 2. Well, actually I'm going to use health 1 for him. But that'll be the same for Batman. So Batman, and we'll call him Batman, equals a new he's a new Batman. And we're going to use health 2. So we have two new superheroes running around. One's called Batman, and the other is called Superman. So now, after they're created, let's print out a message, and let's have them fight. So I'm going to create a while loop that will check to see if they are both alive. So I'm going to use the exclamation mark. The exclamation marks means not. So if not Superman is dead, so he's not dead, and Batman also is not dead, then we will create this while loop. Inside the while loop, we're going to attack each other. So Superman.attack and Batman in the parentheses. And likewise, Batman.attack with Superman as the opponent. So now I'm going to type in the question to see if anyone survived. So I will check to see if Superman is dead. If that is true, then we will print Superman is dead. And likewise, we will print Batman is dead and check that with an if statement. And we'll check to see if he is dead. So let's raise this size of the window a bit. We can see the whole battle then. So it tells us who died and what their health was. I'm going to add one more thing into the superhero. Let's go into the constructor and give some information about when he is born. So let's say. So I'm going to create a line that says this.name is born with a health of, and then we will find out what his health is. Okay, so let's run the game again, and we can see that we have Superman is born with a health of 41, and Batman was only with 5, so that's not a fair fight. Let's run that again. And you can see that they start off again at different levels, 88 and 47, and of course Batman loses. So if we were able to create some more functions in these guys, it would make the battle more interesting. So what could you do with Batman? He could have a... so you could create a function like regenerate health for Batman, and every time that he is attacked, he could regenerate health. And for Superman, what could he have for a special ability? And so you could have Superman maybe with a double the hit power, and inside of here we could have another attack. So now when we get to the end here, let's talk about the deliverables. So we should see that your application is running, and I want a screenshot of your code taken from the last step here. As well, let's do a zip file of your source code. And that should be good for this project.